need to do this real quick. Shit, I forgot to make sure that was on. I can somebody. Anyway. Alright. Okay. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Forrest Walber here, and welcome back to another live stream video. Today, we're going to be talking about a situation that has been plaguing a certain fan base by storm. Okay? But first, let's go back some months ago. Alright? As you guys know, HellDivers II, in case you don't know, I'll say it anyway, in case you don't know. But for those of you that, whether you know this or not, for those of you that don't know, HellDivers II, since it first came out in February of this year, February of this year, it has been one of the biggest success stories in probably of gaming history. All right, one of the biggest success stories of the year. You know, all that jazz. Probably one of the biggest success stories of all time in gaming history. But then recently, we got a tweet from Sony through the HellDivers II Twitter page, which basically made it to where certain gamers on Steam would have to link a PlayStation account to a PSN account to their Steam account in order for them to play the game. This was Sony talking here, not Arrowhead. But here's what was going on here, okay? Originally, this was supposed, from what we were told, according to the contract that Arrowhead had with Sony in regard to this game, they were supposed to have done this from the very beginning. But because of the many problems, particularly because of the player count that was going on at the time, they had to backpedal on that for some time until they finally got these things resolved. But then, of course, here recently, not only did they have this, they also had this update that they did sometime about a week ago, almost a week ago, that was met with some backlash from fans. That is on Arrowhead, I will say that much. That one is on Arrowhead. But then they would try to fix it with another update shortly after that, about a day or two later. But then they had this happen to them. So as if they couldn't catch a break, right? But in this case, I'm not blaming Arrowhead for this one. While yes, they probably shouldn't have agreed to this part of it. At the same time, it is more on Sony than Arrowhead. Because it feels like Sony was trying to get them to do something that they probably didn't want to do. But they forced them to do it anyway, because why the fuck not? But yeah, this whole thing that involved having Steam users linking a PSN or a PlayStation Network account to their Steam account. You know, as a PlayStation 5 user, I wholeheartedly agree with the Steam users on this one. It's kind of pointless for them to do this when we got cross-play that would allow us to play with our Steam brothers and sisters if they choose to do so. On top of that, Sony doesn't have the best track record with protecting users' information, considering the number of times they've been hacked and how many times and how many accounts across each and every single time this has happened have been compromised in some way, shape, or form. Yeah, they just don't like it whatsoever. Yeah, so many people don't really like it, but other people are saying, well, at some point people are going to have to do it whether they like it or not. They're going to have to do it. But then you got the Steam reviews. Again, when you look back to what it was like at the beginning, and as the game got better because they were fixing the issues that were going on, the reviews got more and more positive. But then when this shit happened, it went like blew up literally like a bomb, and so many negative reviews were going out. Now, I wanted to wait for a response from Arrowhead to talk about this, and they have responded. And basically, what I was told through what I was reading seems like they're trying to get Sony to backpedal on this because it is backfiring on them big time. Literally to the point to where people were basically saying they want a refund of this game because of this. The only problem is if you're trying to get a refund from Steam, it's likely not going to work because Steam has a refund policy in place where I believe if you play it if you start playing it under 48 hours, like if you start playing it, you only got like either 48 hours on the purchase of or the day you play the first day of playing it. So it's either the day of purchase or the first day or the day of playing. You have 48 hours to ask them for a refund before they say no. Sorry, but it's out of our hands here. Which okay. Um, but yeah, so many people are very upset about this, understandably so, and I've mentioned some of the things there. Now, I want to say there is a bit of a misconception that people have been having with regard to a PlayStation Network account. The misconception being, I just want to clear this up. The misconception of having to own a PlayStation console for you to have a PSN account is not true. Does that make it any better? No, not really. It's still stupid on Sony's part for them to make people. It's stupid on their part to make people link a PSN account on it when A, they already bought it on their Steam account, so you motherfuckers better be giving them a fucking PS5 version of this game for free. But I know they wouldn't do that because this is Sony we're talking about here. They basically are like Nintendo, only they're with they're basically like Nintendo. Sony is in my book, but at least with Nintendo, at least with Nintendo, they're not making you play a game on Steam only for you to link a Nintendo ID account for them to play it on Steam. Although it's kind of ironic I'm saying that, considering the fact that Nintendo doesn't even have games on Steam, but you know what I'm saying. You get what I'm saying. I bet you, I probably wouldn't even be surprised if Nintendo tried to do that. But if they didn't, that would make them a little bit better than Sony, but still not saying much considering the amount of times Nintendo has released games at full price when they weren't even anywhere near worth that amount. But I digress. Either way, getting back on topic, this whole situation also stemmed with the fact that there are people in, I believe it was like 90 countries total, that are not able to have a PSN account for one reason or another, specifically because their country doesn't allow it. Okay, that's probably the number one reason why, but I'm pretty sure there are other reasons behind that as well, but that's the main reason. So Arrowhead, and I will give Arrowhead kudos on this one. They are trying to find a way to help people that are not able to access a PSN account for the reasons that they have, and so that way they could still be able to play the game. Now, that's the only good thing out of this whole situation, really, is Arrowhead's willing to try to work with the people to give them the result that they want. to the best of their ability. Now, people that are saying, I'm going to go ask for a refund, you know how many times I've heard that statement before? I've heard people say, I'm done with this game, I'm done with this game, or I want a refund of this game, or blah, 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 and they never follow through with it. You would be amazed at how many times I've heard that over the years. Because so many people that are raging at a game do it all the time. And then, lo and behold, they don't ever do it. They never ask for a refund. They never return the game in any way, shape, or form. They still play it. That's why I find those people hilarious. Anybody that says that, I find hilarious in any situation. Because chances are, no, they're not. Even if they were to try to get a refund, they probably won't get it now. But, hey, let them do what they want. But right now, all I'm getting are people that are all talk and no action. Even the one guy that has been giving people updates on this situation has, at one point, was going off on a person who apparently was constantly badmouthing the game after saying they were going to go for a refund. And one of the guys there, one of the people in the HellDivers II Discord server basically said, I thought you were going to ask for a refund. And some people were like, wow, it shifted tone coming from guy willing to help to guy saying, I thought you were going to go for a refund. And in my book, that kind of reaction is warranted. If you're going to constantly if you're going to constantly badmouth the game with or without saying you're going to you want a refund, why haven't you got a refund yet? Why haven't you even bothered to try to ask for a refund? Better yet, why haven't you left the server? If you want nothing to do with the game after this, leave the fucking server. Simple as that. But people, they want to be attention seekers. That's just how some of them are. And I know this because on top of people asking, demanding for refunds, there have been some people who have decided to try to be like 2007 all over again and send death threats to people, to just certain people in certain regards. I don't exactly know who is being sent these death threats. But somebody that was in a Discord server that I'm in said that some people were sending death threats to members of the dev team because of this. Now, whether that's true or not, I want to say this either way. Death threats are not cool. They are edgy, they're not cool, they're not popular anymore. They're just fucking stupid, okay? Never send death threats to anybody, because people, if they feel threatened by the said death threat, they could easily call the cops on you and have you arrested because they're fearing for their life because you dared to be a dumbass and send a death threat. Now, if you guys know me, you know there are certain things that I don't like. There are certain people that I don't care for. But I'm not the type to wish death or ill will upon anybody. If anything, I would just say, well, I don't really care for this person because of this reason or that reason or whatever reason, blah, blah, blah. If I have a problem with them, I'll say it to their face, if anything. And if we can't come to a compromise or an agreement, something, or if I just don't if I just don't respect a person because of their decision, I'll say so. But I'm not going to wish death upon anybody. I'm not going to wish ill will upon anybody. Because to me, that's stupid. It makes no sense. It's waste of time. And it will get you in legal trouble if you're not very careful with who you're sending death threats to. But yes, at this moment in time, the Arrowhead developers are trying to find a way to fix this situation. People are saying, well, just simply don't do it. Do you really think it's that easy? Really? it's not as simple as simply going to the big name company that it's not as simple as an indie developer, like a small developer team like Arrowhead Studios to go to a big head studio like Sony and just say, hey Sony, yeah, nobody likes this decision. You guys should just straight up, not do this. Because Sony would basically go back on them, basically say, whatever, these bunch of whiny babies. Yeah, just keep on doing it. Yeah, they're not convincing us of anything. Just, they'll sign up eventually, give it time. Yeah, so basically, it's not going to be very easy for a small studio, even with that scenario not being the case. The fact remains, a small studio is not going to very easily tell a big studio why they should backpedal on this. The best way to do it? Numbers. That is easily the best way to do it. Even the dev team itself is saying you gotta show them negative numbers from this situation because that might help, that might make them backpedal on this. When you've got a dev team saying something like that, to that effect, you know it's bad. Really, really bad. When a dev team is trying to tell you, the numbers will help us tell Sony that this was a terrible idea. Yeah, I'm pretty sure Arrowhead knew this was a bad idea from the start, but Sony didn't want was having none of that, and so they just made them do it anyway. And now Arrowhead is basically going back behind Sony and basically saying that, if that is the case. Um, but right now, at this point in time, I was initially going to do a HellDivers II week this week, but with the amount of negative backlash, I feel like if I were to try to play the game now, some people would go off on me for playing the game, giving it publicity. Sort of like on the level of Hogwarts Legacy, but probably not as bad. Because to my knowledge, nobody has made a hate website on HellDivers 2 going after anybody that has streamed the game at this point in time. Personally, given how toxic the gaming community can be at times, I wouldn't even be surprised if somebody actually did do it and I don't even know about it. You know? Because Hogwarts Legacy was going through that whole ordeal. And I would not be surprised if HellDivers 2 goes through that whole ordeal in itself. Because people, well, want to, go off on people for playing a game that they're not really caring for right now. But if Sony backpedals on this and realizes this was maybe the worst idea we've ever made, this is the worst idea we've ever had, maybe if they ever backpedal on this, people might come back to it. But as long as they don't, as long as they keep on deciding we're going to keep rolling with this, because of course we will, yeah, this is not going to end well for them in the long run, but we'll see what happens. In any event, currently my thoughts on this situation are as follows. Sony, this is a major L for them. As far as Arrowhead Studios go, I feel like Sony put them in a losing situation where they were trying to have Arrowhead be the scapegoat, but not very many people are buying that bullshit. They're mainly going off on Sony more than Arrowhead, if at all, completely. People are not, people are just going, people are, someone like myself, I'm giving Arrowhead props for trying to help people that are not able to access a PSN account because the country that they're currently in basically has made it to where they can't do that. So Arrowhead is trying to help fix that situation, fix that problem. But they also don't agree with what Sony's doing here, and they even made it known that Sony wanted this. Sony wanted this. Arrowhead didn't want this, but Sony made them do it, pretty much. And when you're a small company, you may say, well, it's going to be a bad idea, but they're probably going to do it anyway just to prove their point. And now their point is being proven currently, given the amount of negative reviews that have been hitting the game's Steam page for a while. I don't even know currently what the reviews on PlayStation 5 are. I wouldn't even be surprised if that number went from like 4.5 or near 5 stars to like 3.5, like 3 to 3.5 right now. I wouldn't even be surprised if that's the case here. Um, because then that would be like all of us, like literally PS5 and Steam gamers coming together to basically tell Sony, you done goofed, brother. You done goofed, Sony. You know, I wouldn't even be surprised if that's the case. Um, but yeah, such a major a big time loss for Sony on this one, because they see the success and they were trying to cut a share of this success story, and people are just having none of it whatsoever. Even Arrowhead acknowledges that they weren't really wanting to do it, but Sony made them do it. So they knew it was a major L on Sony's part. They knew it was going to be an L, but of course, people could say, well, they went along with it anyway. True, but sometimes to prove a point, you got to do something but sometimes to prove a point, you got to do what you're told to do, and then once shit hits the fan, you can go back to the big person or big studio and say, "We told you this wasn't gonna work. You didn't believe us. Well, you didn't believe us when we told you it wasn't gonna work. Do you believe us now? Do you believe it's not gonna work now?" Sometimes it works. Other times, people are just companies or big heads could be in denial. And I love it when they're in denial because it's like, dude, you're a dumbass. you know, every time people are in denial of facts, I call it, they have a name for them. We call them dumbasses. But yeah, in any event, that's my whole 2 cents. Sony, major loss for them. Arrowhead is basically trying to do damage control, but they are trying. But I give them props for trying to help people that are not able to have a PlayStation Network account because of the countries they currently live in. So I give Arrowhead Studios props for that. They probably are pulling an interesting play here by still allowing Sony to do what they're doing here, but I feel like it was probably done to prove a point to Sony that this was not going to work out at all, and it totally isn't working. And it totally isn't working out at all when you got so many people bashing the game because of just this decision alone, compared to the updates that we had. The first update, well, the one update that had major backlash, and then the next update a few days later, that seemed like that was quite that was like the calm before this massive storm that happened yesterday, the day before, with what's being done now in regard to Sony having it to where you gotta link your Steam account to a PSN account for you to play it. Next thing you're going to tell me, they're going to try to require players with this to have a PlayStation Plus membership. I wouldn't even be surprised if they try to pull that shit. Oh, and by the way, in case you're wondering, if you want to do it, in case you're wondering, the PlayStation Plus membership per month depends on, like, how you do it depends on, like, per month or per year, depends on which one you're doing there. You got $9.99 a month, $17 or $24.99 a month, and like some amount a month on the biggest on the one that gives you the most, but it's the most expensive. I forget how much that one is, but they also do it on an annual basis as well. But the fact of the matter is, Sony messed up here. Arrowhead's trying to do damage control for them because they don't want to fix it themselves. It's just one big giant mess. And people are talking about it, making their voices heard about it. Hopefully the situation could be resolved soon, regardless of what happens in the end. Either way, hopefully it gets resolved. But as far as I go, I probably am not going to be refunding my I'm probably the lucky ones because I got HellDivers II on PlayStation 5, so I'm probably one of the luckier ones. But, if I'm being honest, I don't feel lucky. I feel sorry for the people that have to go through this more than I do feeling lucky that I actually probably will not have to go through with it. It's stupid, ridiculous, and a waste of time, in my book. Everything about this is a complete waste of time. It's just stupid, a waste of time, crazy, they shouldn't have done this. Hopefully they realize they messed up and they backpedal on this before it's too late. Alright, and when I say them, I'm referring to Sony. But knowing Sony, they think they know everything, but they don't know jack shit about the gaming community, because if they did, they would know we don't stand for this type of shit, ever. We don't really stand for it. But in any case, this is my story, and I'm sticking to it. The stream was a very short one because I just wanted to say my quick 2 cents on the situation. And if I hear of anything more after this, I will give my 2 cents on it. But for now, yeah, fuck you, Sony. Good on you, Arrowhead. That's all I gotta say. So with that being said, I know people are gonna say, "Well, you own a PlayStation 5. Why are you saying fuck Sony if you got a PlayStation 5?" Well, first off, I bought my PlayStation 5 secondhand. Second off, I can still like the console, but I can hate the company. And third off, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I don't know if I'll be playing this game very much anytime soon until the situation has a positive outcome for majority of the people. That's the way I'm seeing it. But in any case, that's my 2 cents on it. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. And with that said, ladies and gentlemen, hope you guys have a good rest. I'm not going to say what I usually say here because this is a bit of a serious video. And so I usually don't try to do the cheerful, oh, like and subscribe type of shit on something like this, because to me, it's a serious situation that needs to be addressed, and it's being addressed by Arrowhead. Good on them for that. But this is still a serious situation in a way for gamers. We'll just have to wait and see what happens. But with that said, thank you guys for watching. Hope you guys, I want to hear what you guys have to say about this situation. Let me know what you guys think about it in the comments down below. But with that said, hope you guys have a good rest of your day. And until next time, this is Forrest Walpole signing off. Have a good rest of your day.